Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We the people cannot turn back.
Yeah, we're here. Welcome into another rousing rendition of Libservative. Intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Bell the body snatcher on the ones and twos. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
I really just need Trump to slow down. I am already exhausted, and we're like 2 weeks into his presidency. Like, for better or worse, the guy's getting shit done, but he's got to slow down. We can't keep up with this shit. We cannot keep up at this feverish pace and have any chance to cover anything.
Yeah, it's almost like by design, right? Like move along, get all this shit going. And it makes you wonder like what's happening behind the scenes that isn't like being talked about, right? Because everyone's blustering and getting all wrapped up in like shit that like is important, but it's like the same things with like train accidents, plane accidents, war. All of a sudden everybody's an expert, and it makes all this noise and like clutters everything up. Like right now everyone's complaining about USAID, and you do a little bit of deep diving and it's like NGOs, coups, soft coups. Like I don't think USAID is that good, but everyone's upset and arguing about USAID like on the surface. And meanwhile there's other shit. Well, I guess actually USAID probably isn't. Well, no, that's actually a good one. But like meanwhile behind the scenes, like I'm sure
we're gonna talk about it.
Like there's probably shit that's like happening.
I think the Trump administration, here's my tinfoil hat theory. I think the Trump administration is doing all of this so quickly, not just because, he's only got 4 years. Apparently, JD Vance, I don't remember who he said this to, but he said to somebody that Donald Trump every single day asks JD or somebody in the administration how many days they have left. So like he realizes like he's got to get a lot done in 4 years. For better or worse, he's going to do some good things. He's going to do some bad things. We're going to talk about all of that tonight. But I think the Trump administration has a plan to just early on. I think they're actually just trying to make Rachel Maddow's head explode. Like I think they're just trying to overload her. Just overload her.
It sounds like they're trying to like in a remod. You do demolition first. It sounds like they're just trying to gut everything and then rebuild it however they want. Now, in both aspects, tearing it down in the chaotic way that he's doing it, like obviously not making it clear when he was doing federal freezing that SNAP benefits, Medicare and Medicaid and all that stuff was protected. Typical Trump fashion, dropping the fucking ball and being a fucking idiot, right?
Well,
like you didn't make it clear that stuff wasn't not being frozen, but just said all federal funding. But then again, it goes to how the media portrayed it and how the media spent it, lying through omission. We bitched about Ben Shapiro doing that for 4 years.
He did, though. It's right in the executive order. It's right there in the executive order written. And if anybody would just go read it, which nobody does. Did you see that one lady on TikTok that was like screaming and pissing and moaning about her SNAP benefits? And there was like a bunch of stitches that just like showed the executive order above her head where you could like clearly read
again, that goes to just somebody falling for, the mainstream media narrative.
I don't know, man. What do you think about this Caroline Leavitt? I got a theory about her.
What's that? What's up with both parties now for the last 8 years just trying to make just attractive women go out there and be their face?
Karine Jean-Pierre?
I mean, ugly.
I mean,
her personality is trash.
I mean, Gen0cide, she kind of looks like she smells like cat pee a little bit.
I think
I
that would
guess.
be out by now if that
She's
was
kinda-
actually true.
She's kind of mid. Gen0cide's like the epitome of mid. Although, I mean, I've
Shopping's
always
got
had
a
a
pretty
thing for redheads.
face.
So, all right, I guess.
You've done a hell of a lousy job.
Come on. I'm gonna pull this up.
What do you think? But what do you think about this Caroline Levitt? Because I have a theory about her.
Well, my theory was like it's just funny that they continually just bring out just pretty faces is all.
Well, my theory is that
The last guy is Sean Spicer.
Oh, Spicy Spicer. That's right. Who could forget? What was the stupid thing he said that got him fired again? I forgot. It doesn't matter. Maybe Bell will find it for us. My theory about Caroline Levitt, though, is that you think, Corey, that people think she's hotter than she is because she's blonde.
Come on.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Okay. Fine. Whatever I say is going to get me labeled a racist. So if I say she's hot, I'm going to get labeled a racist. If I say she's ugly, I'm going to get labeled a racist. If I say she's hot, I'll be tokenizing her.
I didn't mean to box you in like that, but fuck, now you are. Good job,
Asshole.
Dan. You fucking racist.
I think it's a very rude introduction.
No, there's not anything wrong with being gay. I'm just not gay, says the guy.
You're fired. Get out of here.
Like, and then you're the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I always thought she was attractive.
Is it true, though, about Caroline Levitt? You think that people think she's hotter than she is because she's blonde, because of your blonde theory?
Oh, my blonde theory? Okay, now.
Yeah,
okay,
your
nice.
blonde theory.
Oh, how the tables have turned. Now all of a sudden I'm the one objectifying women. No, yeah, no, that's just my theory that I think that blonde hair in society has been portrayed as attractive as itself. Okay, so I'm in philosophy 101.
Donnie, you're out of your element.
There's things called forms which appear, which are like basically elements that go to make and put something together. Blonde hair is an archetype of something that could be attributed to beauty. So when women have blonde hair, I think that society as a whole thinks that they're more attractive. I don't write these rules. I don't make them. It's just there's a lot of women that I personally see with blonde hair.
They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not stand for it.
Think that they're that blonde hair, and you can even throw in blue eyes. I think blonde hair and blue eyes are something that help cover up a lot of what could be considered imperfections based on beauty standards.
So what you're saying is that the Nazis had a point.
But they were wrong. Ugly people. No, but like again. My wife was blonde when I met her and fell in love with her. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't.
I just think blonde hair is cliche when it comes to beauty, I guess, is all.
Whatever, man. Hot is hot.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever, man.
Speaking of hot, bro. Mitch
Again, I don't
McConnell
disagree. I'm not saying that all blonde women aren't attractive.
I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just dismissing your opinions. Mitch McConnell fell down the fucking stairs today.
Well,
why are we spending so much time laughing at this?
Because this is like the fourth fucking time we recorded on it.
I actually have. I was able to dig up the video of Mitch falling down the stairs. I'm not sure how we got a hold
All
of this.
senior citizens should have life alert.
I am pretty sure this is a Libservative exclusive. The video of Mitch McConnell falling down the stairs. There was actually somebody really famous with him too. It was fucking crazy. This is the two of them walking out of the Capitol here. We'll just take a look and break this down. I think that might be. I think that's Nancy Pelosi with him. He's coming out with his NASCAR jacket on. Make sure to lock the doors behind him. Don't need anybody breaking in.
With all of his sponsors.
Yep, all of his beer. Oh, there he goes. Oh, there he goes.
Oh my.
Oh. I didn't realize he took Nancy down with him.
Yeah, that's a funny video, Dan, but I think they both died after that.
By the time that
I'm just kidding, I made that up. I just wanted to see if you'd be like, well, great, now I really am an asshole.
No, I was never going to believe you when you said that. You just gaslight the shit out of me all the time anyway. By the time, I will say this, Mo, by the time that Mitch got to that second stair, he was just a total passenger. He was going all the way, the rest of the way to the ground.
Oh man, I like that. I like that phrase. Just a total passenger, just out of control.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's actual audio of Mitch. We didn't get the full audio there.
One of his aides yelling, "Oh Jesus Christ!"
How many?
We're allowed to laugh, right? We're punching up. These are terrible human beings that have a way more power.
How many times can these old farts fall down and be okay? It's the adrenochrome. It's got to be. It's got to be the adrenochrome. Yeah, there was. I feel like there was a fart at the bottom of that fall that was not recorded, which is very
shit his pants, dude. He's old.
It's very disappointing. But
I don't mean to laugh when I say that because it's probably like think about it. The chances of him not shitting himself when he did that are probably lower than the chances of him shitting himself.
This is true. I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, like when I saw the notification pop up on my phone and it was like on clip and saying, Mitch McConnell falls, and I was like, what again? Like, that was my response.
I just did a face palm.
My God, we're in February. In the past, month, Mitch McConnell's fell. There was 2 old Democrats that fell. Biden was falling. There's just a lot of slip and fall accidents. People are supposed to be in charge of our country.
They got to stop putting soap on the stairs at the Capitol. It's probably Lauren Boebert.
I was trying to you know what? You beat me to it, but I was throwing up Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
She was too afraid to go to the bathroom. So she just pissed on the stairs.
Because it wouldn't be Dan Crenshaw.
No. Couldn't be old.
He probably holds onto the railing. I feel like the depth perception.
Yeah, that's fair. He's probably used to it by now. Did you see the video of when we're going to talk about Trump get together with Bibi a little bit later on in the show? But did you see the video of him telling the Afghan reporter that he couldn't understand what the fuck she was saying?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like he generally couldn't.
I do too. It was almost an odd moment for Trump where he seemed like he was almost a little bit embarrassed. Let me see if I can find this video. I have it here somewhere.
Yeah,
they're all out of order.
So, especially because there's already a video of him doing that, but he was being kind of an asshole when he did it the first time. so this time it seemed like he was trying to be extra nice. Remember, he's like, "It's a beautiful accent. I love it. I just can't understand you."
I think this is the one. Oh, yep, this is it. I got it. I knew I'd find it.
She was asking a good question.
All my shit is out of order this time. Here we go.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I can't understand what the fuck she's saying either.
Afghanistan situation. Are you able to recognize Taliban? Because I'm an Afghan journalist, Afghan suffrage woman. Any comment about that?
Because she gets upset there.
Afghan people, especially Afghan.
I have a little hard time understanding.
Pause it real quick.
From.
It's almost over.
Actually, it's a beautiful voice, a beautiful accent. The only problem is I can't understand the word you're saying. but I just say this: good luck, live in peace. Go ahead.
Yeah, you could see. Did you see almost that air of embarrassment there at the end that he couldn't?
Yeah, he was embarrassed, right? But what she was asking, which was like a good fucking question, right?
It was a serious topic. That's the whole thing.
Right. Did you hear what you said you had a hard time understanding? She was basically asking,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about the current Afghan situation? And are you going to recognize the Taliban? Because women are suffering in Afghanistan right now. I am an Afghanistan woman. And when she says that, you could tell she starts to break down.
The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying.
Right. Right. And then, yeah, so it sucks that the question wasn't asked. But
yeah, I would have been interested to hear his answer.
like if he was from Michigan, like if the audio was better, you probably would have understood it because we're all from Michigan, so we deal with broken accents often. It's like a separate dialect of English in Metro Detroit.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but there were a lot of there were a lot of folks like on Twitter and social media that thought that he was being an asshole to this woman and that he was trying to like deflect away from her question. But here's the thing about that so many people still don't understand about Donald Trump is that, first of all, that's not Trump's game. He will answer questions even if he's got to do it in a way that, is a very WWE way. But my other thought was this, and probably more importantly, having her ask a question about the situation in Afghanistan would have been an absolute chance for him to be boisterous Trump that we loved so much, because Biden's the one that fucked up Afghanistan. It would have been a perfect opportunity for him to be like, the last administration made it so terrible. It's such
you're right, because that was definitely a question he would have wanted to answer.
100%. It would have been a chance for him to talk about all the Democrats. They made it so horrible.
Dan, we're over here defending Trump.
I'm here. Yeah, well, I'll defend him when we're not going to be defending him later in the show. So stick around for that.
Oh, that's very true.
The only problem is
so this is the
perfect
perfect example of the shit and you're right. This is the perfect example of shit we've been talking about for the past like 3 years. Is like everyone hates Trump, but they all, and we do too, but everyone else hates him for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm hating him less and less every day, other than his foreign policy.
I don't know. He real quickly, it's fucking like, really, dude? We're 2 weeks in.
It turned on a dime a little bit last night,
and there's like three like very big things that I'm actually really, really upset about, and I think that they actually matter for constitutional reasons, not just
I'm
like
so
shit
sorry.
like that.
I wish I could do something, but I can't.
Selena's got a lot to say tonight. What is this? Maybe you guys have looked into this a little bit more. What the hell is with all of the missing dough that Zelensky was talking about? He said, I don't know where, like, whatever it is, $187 billion or where they went when the weapons came over. We don't have to talk about it, but I just, like I said, there's too much going on. We can't keep track of all of it. So if either of you guys
he doesn't know where he pulled a Pentagon.
he couldn't pass his own audit. Is that what it was?
Or like what because we don't know where the fucking money is at the Pentagon, it really could be the Pentagon doing a psyop and covering its own books. Just blame it on Zelensky.
Yeah. I don't know.
They're cheating, they're crooked, they're
that's a
corrupt.
tinfoil hat thing. All right, caveat, put on the tinfoil hat for that conspiracy.
Yeah, RFK and Tulsi advanced through their committees. That's a big step. By a very narrow margin, by basically the chairman's vote. But I think we expected that, didn't we? We expected it to be tight. This one's, the actual vote's going to be tight. In fact, they could be confirmed in the middle of the night as we're sitting here talking or not. So I'm surprised it's taking as long as it is. I think the longer this goes, what do you got, Bill?
I'll say the Democrats right now plan on protesting all night the confirmation of Vought.
They're up there filibustering. They're filibustering a little bit.
For who?
Yeah. For
probably both of them. I would imagine both of them.
For Russell Vought. But
well, good. Let them waste all their energy real quick.
For Russell Vought. Okay, I see what you're saying. Not the two that matter.
Right.
I know it's funny. We they're just they're the outsiders. I'd rather have them in there than lobbyists.
We got Elizabeth Warren making an absolute ass out of herself yet again. Shall we listen to what Pocahontas has to say.
Jesus
Let's
Christ.
Stated. This is not only about a private company that gets sued and has to pay out. Vaccine manufacturers often operate on very slim profit margins. If they get sued repeatedly and successfully, they simply move out of the vaccine space. We've already seen this happen with vaccines in the past. 20 years ago, we watched vaccines just move away if they did not have protection from these kinds of lawsuits. The consequence of Mr. Kennedy's ability to make those lawsuits easier is also the ability to shut down access and manufacturing.
Ron Wyden's looking at her like he thinks she's hot.
And I think that's a terrible stated. This is not.
So before you even respond to this, Corey or Bella, I want to play you a video that was posted by James Lee. And it is Bill Gates at Davos talking about profits from vaccines. Let's just watch these back to back. I think that's probably.
We're here today with Bill Gates. A lot to talk about what he's been working on. And Mr. Gates, thank you so much for being with us. I'd like to talk to you about your approach to vaccinations. You wrote something recently, and like you always do, you kind of looked at the problem from a scientific and business perspective on things. You've invested $10 billion
mostly
in
the latter
vaccinations over the last 2 decades, and you figured out the return on investment for that. And it kind of stunned me. Can you walk us through the math?
It's been $100 billion overall that the world's put in. Our foundation is a bit more than $10 billion.
Stop talking out of your nose.
There's been over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared.
Yeah. Anything at all to add to those back-to-back videos? Just a small 20x return on your profit margins on vaccines.
Yeah. So Bill Gates is out here saying that there's a 20-to-1 return on the money invested versus output from vaccines. And Elizabeth Warren is out there saying that they run it on very slim margins.
Razor thin, Corey. Razor thin. Like it's a fucking restaurant.
So I think that part with the money, I knew that I knew there's a shit ton of money in that stuff. When she first said razor thin margins, I was like, I don't know. Because there's no overhead. It's, because this is the type of shit that Bernie fucking talked about in his campaigns, and this is why I fucking know this, because I'm was a Bernie supporter. Now I'm on the I still like his message, but I think him as a person is spineless. We can get into that another time. He would talk about how that these fucking vaccines and medicines and pharmaceuticals originally were made in fucking colleges, and he was pissed of how they patent something that a college that's funded by the government discovers or invents, and they come in and buy the patent, and then they mass produce it and they make mass profits. This is the shit that Bernie would be upset about. So we know that these razor thin margin type things, and especially when the government is coming in on certain vaccines and saying that you can't sue the company if it fucks you up, her to come out and say that razor thin margins is an out and outright lie. And what she is bitching about, and this is the part that pisses me off, what she's bitching about is creating more accessibility to suing big companies.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck bizarro world are we living in?
Where people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders to a slightly lesser extent, but to still to some extent,
Bernie Sanders was still principled, right?
Are cucking for corporations.
He was still principled in his arguments, at least.
Yeah, he wanted
my views on where he stands, but that was me that changed, not him.
Corey, Bernie Sanders spent 5 minutes trying to get RFK to get an organization that he didn't even work for anymore to remove fucking onesies off of a goddamn website.
Well, Dan, when you put it like that,
I mean, I have no respect for Bernie Sanders anymore. I lost every ounce of Bernie Sanders respect. I mean, I should have lost respect for him when he just decided to roll over and let the DNC put it in his ass, push his stool in, as I like to say, and just didn't even bother to try to get any concessions. I know Jimmy Dore talks about this a lot. Like, you could have at least gotten concessions from a Hillary Clinton campaign. Nope, just turn around. Nope, we have to elect Hillary Clinton because Donald Trump is going to destroy this country. At all costs, we have to elect Hillary Clinton. Fuck you, Bernie. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Fuck your 3 houses. Talking about how billionaires and billionaires are a problem. Why don't you let some of these homeless people live in one of your 3 houses, you fake asshole? What's the matter?
It's funny because remember how, so for the listeners, I do have ADD, and sometimes a word will be said and it goes off in a tangent on a whole different thought, right? And I did that for a couple seconds while you were bitching about Bernie, and then but when I came back,
want to hear what I had to say.
No, but when I came back, and I'll explain it afterwards, right? But like, I came back and focused. Like, I got
Life isn't about getting drunk
and it was
chicken
just
fingers all the time. All right.
You with your drink, just you fucking asshole. Like, I was like, damn, he's really fucking ranting.
You're talking about I thought you were going to bring up the time that I was drunk in the pool on election night.
No, that's off the air stuff. Sometimes things are off the air.
That's fine. We can tell that story at a later time when there's less to talk about.
yeah, that's a filler story. A filler feel good story to round out the hour.
That's a filler. But to your point, Corey, about
what I was gonna say is you said push in your stool, and I was just thinking about, like, it made me go onto a tangent. It was like, if I said that around, like, let's say a gay person, and they took it offensively as a homophobic like statement, how I would just argue that it isn't.
Yeah, straight people butt fuck too.
Well, no, it doesn't matter if you're gay or if you're straight or anything, Dan. If somebody tries to put something in your butt when you don't want it, it's gonna hurt.
That's true.
Regardless of orientation. Yeah. There's women who are straight
we have actual
who
audio
like it in the butt, but if you tried to do that when they didn't want it there, it would hurt.
We have actual audio of Corey's ADHD.
Oh, look at that. It says TikTok.
To your point, though, Corey, about Elizabeth Warren talking about how it's just insane that we're going to make it harder or that we want to make it harder to sue pharmaceutical companies. This is just such a fundamentally ridiculous thing on its surface. But the whole thing is this. Think about it this way. If I created a product, whatever the hell it is, and I said, if you buy this product, there is a 0% chance it's going to kill you. But also, I need you to sign this waiver that says if it does kill you, nobody can sue me. Would you buy that product? I mean, this is the kind of thing that these pharmaceutical companies are doing with mostly just the vaccines.
Depends on how cool it is. Because let's be honest, we do that with a lot of shit. Like when I bring my kid to fucking Urban Air and they give you the paper, it's like, we're not responsible. We're not saying kids here get hurt, but
Corey
kids might get hurt.
The difference is it's obviously not a 0% chance that your kid could get hurt or you could get hurt doing something like that. There's a zero, but that's what they do.
I guess because they're like, it's a jump park, bro.
Yeah, like
you have to sign
this.
You have to sign this to say we're not liable. But I could say, okay, I'm not taking my kid here. But no, you're right. Vaccines are different.
And well, it's the same with vaccines in that regard, because it's like you're putting.
I was just being a contrarian. We don't have to keep going. That's cool.
Well, no, it actually makes me think of just another point. I'm not trying to argue with you. What I'm saying is this: like a vaccine is it's a pharmaceutical drug that you're putting in your body. What do pharmaceutical drugs almost all of the time have? Side effects, right? And like the people like Elizabeth Warren and others that don't want RFK to look into these things, they genuinely sit there and act like there's like no such thing as side effects from vaccines. They all do this.
And that's the thing, right, about the vaccine thing. Like everyone's gotten real like rigid about it. And I understand that because like if you try, like, I don't want to use the term fucking trust the science, but you do your research
Yeah,
and you trust like
can't do that.
scientists
Don't
and stuff
do
because
your own
like all the data and stuff out there right now about vaccines, and obviously if vaccines were as bad as they say they are, there'd be a lot more people fucked up.
Sure.
But lost my
well,
train of
that's right. That's the
Maybe it's
whole
the
point,
vaccines.
right?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you lost
My
your train of thought from your
ADHD.
vaccines.
Ooh, look at that. It says TikTok.
No, but that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? Like RFK looks into this. Everything's good. They're safe and effective, like you've always been saying. Why are you so against this? That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
He goes out and says nothing. Great, sweet. Let's go. Let's everybody keep pumping fucking shots in your kid's arm. It's great. We love it. Nobody gets smallpox. Nobody gets polio. We all love it.
That's gonna chat my ass. I forgot that. I had something to say. Anyways,
You're fired. Get out of here.
it was like it's like when you leave, like you know how, because now we're like almost 200 episodes into this shit, and we both have like cut someone off or like lost a train of thought, and like we left it on like a cliffhanger that didn't make you look good. I lose sleep over this shit, Dan.
Did you guys see? You're gonna love this one. You guys might have missed this one because, like I said, there's just too much going on. I need Trump to just slow down a little bit so we can all catch up. Did you guys see that Joe Biden signed with a creative arts agency in Hollywood? I don't know what they're gonna make. I swear to God, I hope they just make a documentary of Joe Biden just walking around trying to figure out where the hell he is.
Oh no, dude! If it was a show of Joe Biden just doing normal everyday,
I would watch the
middle-class
shit out of
things,
it.
I would watch.
Honestly, it's a brilliant move.
I'd love it.
It's a brilliant move by the agency. That would sell so hard
in that environment and not being in charge of anything. He'd be the most endearing. Everyone would fall in love with him.
Saying super racist things, thinking
that would be edited out. That'd be edited out in post.
Oh, that was actual audio from Joe. Yeah, I didn't really want to talk about that. I just wanted to bring it up because I think I didn't think it was a great move, but then I thought about it. I'm like, a reality show where they just follow Joe around and Jill is just directing his entire life, just trying to prevent him from falling down the stairs. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's actual audio of Hunter watching Joe fall down the stairs after he accidentally spiked his coffee with blow.
That one was you throwing a home run when you pitched it to yourself. That was good. I liked it.
Fucking white people.
Well, okay, yeah. So right before that, we were talking about RFK, right?
You're okay. You're still on that. That's the ADHD coming back.
Yeah, and I was talking about the rigidity, if that's a word, the rigidness.
That's a word.
Right? Of how people are so for it or against it.
Oh, look at that. It says TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, no. See, I lost it. I lost it. That one ain't coming back.
Did you really? I thought you were fucking with me. You really lost what you were going to talk about?
Yeah.
You're fired. Get out of here.
All right. I need to get up and do 3 spins.
What do you guys think of the? I'll even bring Bell in on this one because I'm curious to know both of your.
What's gonna piss me off the most is I'm gonna listen to this episode when it drops, and I'm gonna be like, "Motherfucker!" And I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna remember what I was supposed to say, and I'm gonna probably run to Bell first and tell him.
The idea of
go ahead, Dan.
Department of it. Okay.
You've done a hell of a lousy job.
The possible disbandment of the Department of Education. Corey.
You're not that smart. I know what's going on. You're just showing off on friggin' TV again.
Corey hates school choice. He thinks it's the worst policy in the history of the universe and mankind.
That's a hyperbolic attack.
He loves he loves public school indoctrination. He thinks all the black kids should stay in their shitty schools.
as a father with a kid in a private school, first off, and
well, yeah, that's the hypocrisy, right?
I'm wearing a tie-dye shirt. No, I I like the idea of school of choice. I just think that there's going to be certain barriers that need to be addressed if school of choice is implemented.
Yeah, I know. I was just fucking with you. You know that. We've been doing this long enough.
Yes.
I'll start. I mean, the disbandment of the Department of Education. There's there's like people from teachers unions and all this shit freaking out. Now, I don't even think they realize that they don't even need the Department of Education. The Department of Education is a waste of space. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of federal tax dollars. Because first of all, when was it put into place? I think it was did Jimmy Carter. I think Jimmy Carter started it in like 1979, something like that.
Yeah.
And ever since then, we've gone from first to 34th in education. Mm-hmm. So clearly, it's not doing its job. But
I've tried to look that up.
Dave Smith made this point on his last episode. I thought it was just such a good point because it was just something I hadn't considered, but it was so obvious when he said it. He said it to me. I was going to say he said it to me. He did. He said it to me through the podcast. His point was that like we as Americans,
I feel like he's talking to me.
He's talking right to me, man. We as Americans, and this probably goes on in other countries too, but we sit there and we think that we just get used to the government doing something like, oh, education. Yeah. The government just handles that. And we don't ever like bother to ask why or whether it's effective or whether it's something that's necessary. And he brought up the idea of like, say that there was like a department of shoes. Like we don't have a department of shoes because shoes are created in the private market and we all buy shoes. And if you notice when you go around to the richest neighborhoods in the country or the smallest neighborhoods in the country, everybody pretty much has shoes on. So like the free market kind of worked in the area of shoes. And it's like, but if we had a department of shoes since 1968 or whatever, there's a lot of people that would just sit around and go, yeah, well, whatever. The government just handles shoes. And that's just something that we do. And I feel like he's right. I feel like the Department of Education is that thing that we've just accepted that the government just does that is just completely full of nothing but administrative bloat. We absolutely don't need it anymore.
Yeah, no, I feel like
we never did.
I feel like there should definitely be, I don't know, like some sort of federal standard about like the levels of what education should be. But yeah, dude. I mean, 50s,
it's easy
60s.
for you to say having a kid in private school.
Shut the fuck up. But I feel like
I just want your kids indoctrinated, not mine.
The 50s and 60s, you know, like American like education was like the gold standard,
right?
And since you've tried, and I feel like one of the reasons for that is a lack of some sort of like Department of Education because of the fact that you had 50 states experimenting and figuring out what worked and what didn't, right? When you try to negate and then which is the whole idea of America, when you try to negate that experiment and throw everyone into a basket and just keep shaking it and just trying to get the best ones to the top, you know, and just making sure the bottom ones don't fall through the holes, it's not a good system. It's like, and I think it's proven by our Department of Education. Now, like we just talked about the idea of how I said when it comes to things like school of choice, I'm still like there's kids that are going to have barriers from it. There's obviously gaps that we need to take care of to where like the most disadvantaged get taken care of. But yeah, I don't think the Department of Education helps education in our country.
It's easy. And we've talked about this, and I think you've actually agreed with this, Corey. It's a voucher program. Instead of the state money going directly to the school districts, you give it to the parents. They choose where they want their kids to go to school. It forces schools to compete. Everybody has a chance to get the best education that they can find.
Like, yeah, but you're getting more. Like, so that's like, yeah. And I guess. I mean, I'm not necessarily for that or against it if it worked, but now we're getting more and more and more into like, what is it, Austrian capitalism or whatever.
My love of the Austrian School of Economics. I got in a huge fight with a guy on Twitter the other day. It was like,
right,
the Austrian School of Economics is just as bad as communism. I'm like, yeah, well, except for one. I'm like, except for one ends with, you know, famine and at the point of a gun, and the other one does not. The other ends
might. I mean, for
free
like,
market,
it might. Like if you switched it to Austrian economics today in our country, a lot of people
Right. Well, that was the whole point I tried to make with the guy, because the guy was like, what happens if you turn off the faucet tomorrow? And well, he didn't say faucet. I use that verbiage, but I'm like, yeah, you got to get healthy the way you got sick, right? It would be a slow burn. You can't just fucking turn it all off tomorrow. I'm not that stupid. I understand that.
You know, that's why I like the term like minarchist. You know, like where like the government should only really be involved in what it has to be involved in. If we have a swath of the country that is destitute and needs help, like
who's that? Who watches the watchdogs?
Right. That's where the checks and balances comes in.
I love that phrase. Who watches the watchdogs? Bell, what are your thoughts on the Department of Education? I got a feeling Bell's on my side here. Not that you weren't on my side. you kind of.
No, I still think there needs to be some sort of oversight and standard to make sure that states are actually doing their thing. But I think that every state should be able to like collect their own funding and delegate how their schooling works. Because I feel like kids in Michigan having to be in the classroom, you know, like inside for 3 months out of the year because it's cold, like the environment. It's just, I feel like kids in Michigan might possibly get taught a little bit differently, and the curriculum should probably be a little bit different for them than it is in a state like Florida or California. Like
reading, writing, arithmetic. That's it.
Just the Department of Education. Yeah, because then they set standards. So then like the teachers,
old top checking in.
So then individual teachers can't teach the class to how they see fit because they have to hit these stupid rigorous standards that's set by the Department of Education. And going back to what I was saying, how like kids in California and kids in Michigan, like they probably get taught a little bit different, and you should give that freedom.
Yeah, because of that DEI.
And if one state decides to go, you know what we're doing? We're doing all of our teaching outside. It's going to be more play and less than this. And then who knows? What if that all of a sudden gave a shit ton of fucking positive results? Other states can follow. If it tanks, then every other state goes, yeah, let's not fucking do that.
You've done a hell of a lousy job.
But when it's the Department of Education making that decision for all 50 states, there's no rooms for A-B contrast.
Bell, sorry, Corey just talked over you for like 5 minutes.
I know. You get me all riled up at Department of Education.
See, states and local governments already fund most of the schooling anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like Corey said, everywhere is going to be different. So you can't really have a federal group sitting here saying like, this is the way that we have to do things. As much as the federal government should be, the state should have a budget for schooling, right? Federal government should be there to make sure that all of those dollars allocated in that budget for schools get spent on schools. And
oversight.
That federal government shouldn't be involved anyways.
Right.
And that's the thing is like they already aren't, other than to set these, as you pointed out, Corey, they already aren't, other than to set these like silly,
the funding is already
arbitrary standards. And at the end of the day, if you really break down, and this is another point that I thought was really good from Dave when he was talking about this. If you really break down what schooling is, I mean, especially when you're talking about younger kids, I mean, it's reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? You start to get a little bit older. I sound like you sound like a boomer. Like, I remember when they just used to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. You get a little bit older, maybe you add some civics in there. You know, you get a little bit older, maybe you add a little bit of history and some literature in there. Outside of that, like what is there? I mean, oh, hold on. There's one more thing they should definitely teach that they don't, and that's financial literacy.
Yeah.
Like that should be added to most schools, especially like later on in high school, like shit that you can use, because like everything that you take in from K through 12 should just be fundamentals. And then whatever higher education you decide to go to, even if it's a private university, if it's a state university, or even if it's just like a trade school, you need all of those things. You have to be able to write. You have to be able to do math, regardless of what you move on to. So it's like school isn't that hard. It really, it's just not, it's not as complicated as what I feel like American education has made it out to be. And then you have, the whole No Child Left Behind thing. And then
so that's the perfect example of why Department of Education is bad.
Terrible
right?
program. Just a terrible
So if you're
program.
a Democrat and you're like more supportive of Department of Education, look at No Child Left Behind.
Yeah, awful.
No Child Left Behind is basically what I was just talking about in a nutshell. Like that was the policy. Fucking production line.
I'll say, it's going to save all the funding for the schools.
Terrorists.
Because the Department of Education did offer grants to schools, but not nearly as much as like state and local. But you're going to see a lot of states open up lotteries because there's a lot of states that don't have lotteries, and that's what pays for a lot of the schooling.
Yeah, you're going to see marijuana legalized in a lot more red states. You're going to see lotteries. Any way to squeeze a dime.
Degenerates.
Children.
This is America.
Selena's got a lot to say.
Children.
The children. Think about the children.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't.
Sounds like a South Park character. Holy shit.
It's so good. We haven't even gotten into the meat of this episode, and we're 46 minutes in. What do you, Corey? What do you think about the trade war with Canada and Mexico? Because and maybe you can help me maybe understand some stuff about this that I don't. Because here's what I'll say: I went into this, and everybody knows that I've said this. All of our longtime listeners have said, the libertarian in me goes, yeah, tariffs are terrible. The analogy that's been given by many people is that tariffs are essentially punching yourself in the face economically. What Trump found a way to do, and I don't know how he did it, it's not the strategy I would have used, was he found a way to go to Canada and Mexico and threaten to punch himself in the face. And they went, don't do that. Don't punch yourself in the face, because they absolutely folded within a couple of days. So I know we talked a long time ago when we first started hearing about the fact that Trump was going to initiate some tariffs. And I'm losing my train of thought now. Look, it says TikTok. But I remember what I was going to say. We had said
it says TikTok.
Yeah, his people were talking about, well, he's just going to use it as a weapon. And my whole thing was like, he's going to threaten to punch himself in the face as a weapon. And it fucking worked. Like, I don't know what world we live in now where that is a strategy that actually kind of paid off.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that my voice gets recorded on this show, because I feel like 3 months ago, I said the only way that I would ever think that tariffs could work is if it was being used as a bargaining chip. Because what the tariff does is it doesn't necessarily raise the prices of like American goods. It just brings the prices of imported things that people are buying at a cheaper price in our capitalistic society from foreign countries.
Which is why it's like punching yourself in the face, because you're ultimately taxing your own people.
Right.
You can't tax other countries.
And also, hey, Belle, real quick, look this one up. The thing with Canada and what Canada said that they're going to do to avoid these tariffs. I've seen murmurs from people that lean more left on the spectrum, and talking about how what Trudeau promised was already in the works since December. Have you heard anything about that, Dan?
I've heard about that.
Yeah. Did I don't know if you're ready for me to play this yet, but did you guys see I don't remember what the show's called, but it's basically Canada's version of Saturday Night Live, and they called this months ago.
Oh, did
Corey
they?
lost train of thought, so I can play it, I'm sure.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was waiting for it to pop up. I'm just like, cool, a video.
It's gonna pop up.
Okay.
I
don't know if Mexico had like anything lined up like that. But I guess like Mexico, I guess already had like 10,000 at the border.
Yeah, I mean, they all folded, and they made this succeed. I'll play the video and then we'll talk about it because this was great. In fact, I love I don't know who the actor is, but that Trump hair is like way too blonde, I think.
Mr. President, I must admit I was worried that you were going to
Trudeau,
try to humiliate
McDonald's in
me.
front
I
of him.
would never embarrass you, Justin. Are you kidding me?
Thank you, Donald.
Now I want to see you eat it.
Excuse me? The hamburger.
The Big Mac, the president of all burgers. I'm going to make you eat it like a dog with no hands.
Mr. President, I have self-respect.
Not so much, to be honest. I mean, he came like a dog, didn't he? He really did.
Mon ami, I come to you
Mon
not
ami.
as a knee, but as an equal.
30% tariff.
My father taught me to
50%
never...
tariff.
Okay, we Canadians are a hearty
60%
lot.
tariff.
For Canada! I'm a hungry little puppy. I'm so hungry for my puppy chow.
All right, that's enough.
This is a
Justin.
Canadian
I won't
show.
Impose a tariff. I can't. I'm not even the president yet, am I? What a loser. Now let's DJ.
It's fun to stay at
That was from like a few months ago. And
They-
that's
they kinda-
exactly how it played out. That is exactly how it played out.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was-
it is.
I was talking to a buddy and he's like, Trump won't even talk to Trudeau. And I was like, oh, that's stupid. That's stupid. And first of all, neither of us knew that this was true, but he was just speculating like Trump won't even talk to Trudeau. I'm like,
Why
well,
wouldn't
that would
he?
be really I don't know. I don't know what his answer was. I don't even remember what his answer was because I think his whole thing was he's just waiting for Pierre to get in there. I'm like, yeah, but like you still got to negotiate with the world leader that's there.
No,
Like,
Trump
that's-
wants to
that's
talk
pretty-
to everyone.
He really does.
You remember?
wants to
He
make
like
it
he's
eat a
such a
Big Mac like a
narcissist.
dog.
He's like, oh yeah, it's send it my way. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, oh yeah, let me talk to him. I'll talk to him.
And it
Hey,
worked.
Corey, I sent you guys a plan in the private chat. It is from December 17th, straight out of Ottawa. The government of Canada's plan to strengthen border security and their immigration system.
Ottawa. Here we go. New release December 17th, 2024. Today, the Honorable Dominic LeBlanc, Minister of Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs. Why wasn't I able to read that word? Along with Honorable Mark Miller, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, and Honorables. Yes, I don't care about all these people. What the fuck does it say?
Release
backed by
Canada's
an-
border plan.
But yeah, backed by an investment of $1.3 billion and built around 5 pillars, this plan will bolster border security, strengthen our immigration system, and contribute to ensuring Canada's future prosperity. So, like, they were preparing for Trump to become president. Honestly, even December 17th, 2024, I would say even that's a little bit late, but better than never. So they're going to
Right, but
detect
Biden was
and-
president, so Biden gets credit for it.
I guess. The plan was to detect.
If they mention him.
I don't know if they do, because I'm not going to read all of the fucking things. I'm just going to read the bullet points where their plan was to detect and disrupt the fentanyl trade. Next one is to introduce significant new tools for law enforcement. I mean, it probably breaks that down, but I don't give a shit. And enhancing operational coordination, increasing information sharing, minimizing unnecessary border volumes. What is a border volume? What does that mean? Does that mean like people lining up at the border? Okay, here it says,
Yeah, the amount of people.
Implement changes to end flag polling, which happens when a temporary resident leaves Canada and immediately returns to a port of entry to get immigration services. All right, I guess that makes more sense now. Yeah, those are the bullet points. I'm not reading this. TLDR.
Too long. Didn't read. So I was also skimming it as you were looking over it, and now there is no mention of Biden from what I can see.
You're just looking for the words Biden.
Yeah, I was looking for.
I don't know why it would. It's Canadian law.
Well, I mean, it's Canadian law, yes, but the way it's being touted right now in social media is that like Biden made this plan.
My 67 Corvette.
And
right over the border.
It sounds like they were almost like preparing for Trump.
Well, good for them. I'm glad they got something done. I don't have any other points to make other than I can't fucking believe it worked. I can't believe the threat of tariffs worked. But they did. It worked. You got to admit, whether you like it or not, Trump's getting shit done. He's getting it done in a hurry.
Yeah,
what do we have next? What do we have next, Corey? Do we make fun of the Democratic Party chair election?
Well, I already said my piece on it last week. If you didn't hear it and you didn't listen to last week's episode, go ahead and listen to it because you hear me talk about Faiz Shakir, this guy who's like really actually pro-labor and not like just a part of the establishment filth.
Yeah, we're gonna make fun of them. We're gonna make fun of this. We're gonna make fun of this. We're gonna make fun of this so hard because the former chair, the outgoing chair, he needed to make sure that the nomination rules or that the voting rules were clearly stated. And I looked at this and I went, man, I can't imagine why Democrats are losing voters.
Rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race.
He's so annoyed. He's looking like, do I really have to say this?
Female and 1 person of any gender.
Take forever to say
To
nothing.
ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules.
The only problem is I
To do
can't
this,
understand a
our
word you're
process
saying.
will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week. But I hope you will see that in practice, it is simple and transparent. The order of
simple and
balloting
transparent.
is designed to ensure equal access to the ballot, regardless of gender identity. As we must elect a candidate of any gender as well as 1 male and 1 female vice chair, we will first ask members to elect a candidate of any gender on the first ballot. Any candidate, male, female, and non-binary, can be elected on that ballot. After a candidate is elected on the first ballot, we'll have one officer of the 3. So then we will know which position is filled of the 1 male, 1 female, and 1 vice chair of any gender. Our second ballot would also be for a candidate of any gender. Then our third ballot will be the 3rd position that is remaining based on the 2 results. Either a male candidate if a candidate that is not male has not been elected, or a female candidate if a female has not been elected.
What in the fuck did he just say? All I heard was, this should be really simple and transparent.
The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying.
Just like, what in the fuck is going? You look at this. This is how this party elects its new chairperson. And you wonder why this fucking party is in the doldrums that it's in right now.
Dude, it's so frustrating. Like, I was writing this down as this guy's talking, and that people just want a party that represents people that are struggling. They want reps that are pro-labor, anti-war crimes, and to leave them the fuck alone.
I can't imagine why the working class went to Trump. Wow.
And that
So
goes for
surprising.
like, and it goes on either end of the spectrum when it comes to the government leaving them the fuck alone, whether it's gun rights or abortion rights or free speech and your personal idea of what free speech is. Other people have their personal ideas of what free speech is. All these minute details are trivial because the overall goal is the same for the large swath of the people who are voting for Republicans and the large swath of people that are voting for the Democrats. They have so many views that are aligned, and they just want a fucking party that represents that. And the Democrats clearly are fucking figuring that out. Democrats are clearly not learning from their lessons and trying to actually create a party that represents those things that I just mentioned. And the Republicans are placating. They've at least figured out that that's the messaging they have to do, even though it's clear that they're not fucking doing that either.
You can see that with you can see that a lot, Corey. Just to speak on that, you can see that a lot with the confirmation hearings. Like a lot of these Republicans, and I'm not talking about MAGA Republicans. I'm talking about the old establishment Republicans. I'm talking about, you know, the Liz Cheneys of the world, the Mitch McConnells of the world, the rhinos, as they like to call them. But like, I don't even like that because those are the real Republicans. What you guys are doing is something different, and you should be fucking proud of that. I don't know why you want to have Republican in your name if you're one of these Trump supporters that are, by the way, in alignment with so many genuine leftists. Like the difference between MAGA populism and leftist populism is almost nil. I don't know, like when those two coalitions realize that, holy shit, the establishment's in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think you agree with that, because we're seeing a lot more of the genuine leftists, I'm talking the real leftists, the Fred Hampton, Jimmy Dore leftists, right? I'm talking about
the real leftists who realize USAID getting abolished is actually a good thing versus like liberals who think it's a bad thing.
Right. Those the phonies, the people that are power, the NPCs, right? These are,
I wouldn't even say phonies. It's like equivalent to your regular Republican. They just don't know about it.
Well, and that's why, like, I get so frustrated when I tell people that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are exactly the same. And they go, well, Kamala wouldn't have tried to send troops into Gaza. Like, they'll just throw out some, like, stupid, like, some just, like, dumb gotcha. And it's like, you're totally fucking missing the point. They are the same. And so are the MAGA coalition and the genuine leftists are so similar, and they're steadily starting to recognize how much they have in common. And when that day comes where they go, all right, we're not fucking with this establishment bullshit anymore. We're just going to come together. We're just going to work together. You know, the establishment's in trouble. And if you don't think the establishment realizes that, why do you think they're trying so hard to make sure Tulsi isn't confirmed? Why they're trying so hard to defend USAID, why they're trying so hard to make sure RFK isn't confirmed, why they're trying so hard to make sure that the CIA stays fucking funded. There's a reason for this. They're fucking scared, and they're on their fucking heels. And I implore the MAGA people and the actual leftists to actually build the coalition that is right there in front of your face.
Yeah, it's just
right there in front of your face.
Right there.
Very close. And that, you know, that was an awakening that I think I've had. When did we have that awakening, Corey? Definitely before the election. Long before the election. It took us a while to get there. And that's why I'm not upset with people on the two sides of that, the MAGA coalition and the leftist coalition, because it does take a little while to get there. But once you get there, you're like, why aren't you people seeing this? But then you remember, I didn't see it.
It's like when you see, when you're all watching a magician do a trick, but you saw the quick sleight of hand and you're like, wait. And everyone's like, no, that wasn't it. And you're like, I'm literally seeing it. You know, that's actually really fucking funny because, what is it? Plato's Cave. You ever hear of Plato's Cave? The allegory of Plato's Cave?
Yeah.
Right, where like everyone is they're enslaved and they're chained up, and all they can see is the wall of the shadows of like from sunlight, looking like it's horses and soldiers on the wall. So that's all they know. So that's their reality until one of them breaks free and goes, wait, hold on. There's real shit back here. And everyone's like, nah, there's not. This is it.
This is it. This is it right here.
Donald Trump is a
And guys
bad
go,
guy.
"No,
He's a
but
bad
listen."
person.
And yeah, like I'm still in the school of thought that I don't think Donald Trump is Jesus. I don't think he's a savior. But like, I got to tell you what he's done in these first few weeks domestically. We're going to get into the foreign policy stuff probably here in just a second, but domestically, I don't have a lot bad to say about it. You know, a lot of the stuff. Hold on, before you tell me that I'm a racist.
No, that wasn't it. No, there's just things that he's pulling that are like not good.
It doesn't mean that I would have necessarily taken all of the avenues that he's taken, and like the ways in which I go, okay, that's fucked up. A lot of it is constitutionally protected, right? Like the great example is the birthright citizenship thing. I have vehement disagreements with that, but I also know, as has been now 2 judges have ruled that that's going to be on hold, right? I just knew that the Constitution was going to protect us on those. So it's just like, I'm not going to worry about that too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually just telling someone on Facebook the other day that because they were talking about how someone on the like the representatives floor and the federal government introduced a federal ban on abortion. And I was like, no, I understand that this can be scary, especially, I have a lot less at stake for this.
Trump will not sign. Trump will veto that bill. I firmly believe he does because of all of the things that I don't like.
To that point, I didn't even get
all of the things I don't like about Donald Trump. Dude, he's not anti-abortion. He just isn't.
Right.
There's
he
nothing that suggests that he is.
to get the vote.
Sure.
Like, oh wow, you're right. Yeah, all politicians do.
Sure.
But no, like if one rep introduces a bill out of like 430 some people, I don't know what the number's at now. It was at 427 before the census, I think. I don't know what the new number is, how many reps there are. But one of them introducing a bill doesn't even mean it's going to make it to the floor for a vote, first off.
Well, all you have to know is
when it comes to 430 people, a large swath of those Republicans in there actually are in districts that are swing districts that know it would be political suicide to vote on a federal ban of abortion. Because we're talking about districts that are in like Michigan, that is like farm country, but it's still a swing state.
It would depend on the county, or it would depend on the district that they represent. But yeah, I mean,
Macomb. Let's say Macomb. It's suburban county. It's not a farm county, but
people like Marjorie Taylor Greene
saying they're going to try to introduce an abortion bill would be political suicide.
Well, and to speak to everything that you just said there, Corey, like some clown, because let's be very, very frank about this. Congress is a fucking clown show. Again, as demonstrated by these confirmation hearings. We know it's a clown show. The circus is in town and the clowns come out to play. Democrat, Republican doesn't matter. Congress is an absolute clown show. So to your point, Corey, in a House of Representatives that's 400 plus deep, you have somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene enter. It wasn't her. I'm just using her as an example, but enter something like abortion legislation. It's like, yeah, we're going to fucking look at that and we're going to laugh, and we should laugh. Because first of all, it's going to get vetoed by the president that she loves so much and thinks is the second coming of Jesus Christ.
She really does.
And you know what? Trump uses that to his advantage, by the way, to his credit, as
she thinks Trump is Christ and she thinks that she's Mary Magdalene.
Oh, they fucking?
Allegedly.
I see what
they
see
left
what you
that
did.
part out of the book.
I was going to say, I see what you did there. There was no actual proof that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were fucking. You think they were? Come on. Come on.
Maybe. You need
I
to
think
look
they
at because
I'm
there's
so
that little, like,
sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't.
actual audio of Mary Magdalene at the feet of Jesus Christ during the crucifixion.
the cunnilingus. Oh yeah, no, the crucifixion.
Yeah, Selena does kind of sound like she's doing a weird O face during that whole thing, doesn't she?
No, I saw the
Let's just
video.
ask-
So it's like I know.
Let's
what
just
she
ask.
looks like.
Let's just ask Justin Bieber. He knows. He knows what that O face looks like. Don't you play around?
Nobody's ever been hip like that.
Or she could have just been faking it like she did in that video.
Yeah, she is an actress. And a really bad one, by the way, as we discussed last week. What do you think about Elon's access to the treasury? We had a lot of people freaking out about that. And you notice they stopped freaking out about it once the USAID stuff came up. They stopped freaking out about his open access to the treasury, right? Because what were they saying? Elon has access to our data. And I went, all I could do is just sit there and scratch my head and go, I mean, if I had my druthers, I would not like Elon having access to my data, or anybody for that matter. It's not just an Elon thing. It's like, but why is that bad? And they can't explain why it's bad other than it's just Elon Musk, because now instead of Trump derangement syndrome in 2025, it's morphed into Elon derangement syndrome.
And
where everybody's
wild Trump's kind of using him as a shield. Like,
I
I need
mean,
some of the. I need some
and
of the
Elon
fake
loves
ones.
it. That's the thing about it. Elon loves every second of it because he's an internet troll. And that's what I keep trying to explain to people. In the same way that Trump is a WWE character, Elon Musk is just a really fucking rich internet troll. That's all he is. Stop taking this shit so seriously. Stop taking this shit so seriously.
A wrestling heel and a 4chan guy get together. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go right? Who knows? I love it, dude. I'm in the Michael Malice school of thought on this now, man. Just fucking like it's the meme that my buddy put out there the other day where the house is burning and the little girl's turning and smirking, and over the house that's burning it says the government, and then the girl that's smirking it says me. just burn it all to the ground, man. Nicole Shanahan made a great point on one of the podcasts. I wish I could remember which one. I listened to so many, but I think it might have been Dave Smith's podcast where she was like, oh, you mean we finally get to data mine the government? Wow. They've been data mining us for so fucking long. What an asshole that Elon Musk wants to data mine the government. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We finally have an opportunity to data mine the government.
Principally based on, because, the, what's his name? Jon Stewart put it like really well, like how there's the laws, the loopholes, and the norms. You ever seen that video?
Yeah, and he goes, Trump just says, Republicans just say fuck the norms, and Democrats are like decorum and norms and
yeah, the Democrats follow the laws, Republicans find the loopholes to circumvent the laws, and then the Democrats just cry about the norms.
Mm-hmm. And you wonder why you're losing.
Yeah, we're watching right now the Republicans, like especially like Trump and all of them, exploit the loopholes. I still a lot of times just because in my my optimistic, fucking idealistic world, and we have this small government that have laws and they just follow the fucking laws and they follow the norms. It makes me uneasy still that Elon is using these ridiculous loopholes to circumvent the norms and the laws and do some shit like getting access to that stuff. Like, it's like, wait, it was really that fucking easy? Like, you just had to be friends with the president? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
I'm in the Robbie the Fire Bernstein school of thought on Elon, which is like I'm kind of agnostic on him, because at the end of the day, I'm not any more fearful of Elon having access to treasury data than I am the federal government that of yesterday.
Right. And who else is on that list?
But also,
who else is on that list?
But the reason I'm agnostic on him is because, yeah, I also think he's a fucking defense contractor who's trying to get his. You know what I mean? Like, it's both things,
right?
But
yeah, he's not doing this out of the good of his own heart. I refuse to believe that.
You're at a point now though where it's like, dude, I'll just take anything other than what we had, and we have a situation, yes, where the federal government is being exposed. I'm sorry, I'm going to take that as a win. I'm going to walk away with that as a win all day long. As a card carrying, Ron Paul libertarian, I'm going to take that as a win every single fucking time. And yeah, again, what's Thomas Sowell's famous quote that we love so much, Corey? There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. Yeah. There's a trade-off. It means, and the other thing that I love about people that are that were so afraid of Elon having access to the treasury data is they're like, well, he's going to steal our money. He could steal our money. I'm like, he's going to steal the money that's already been stolen by the federal government. As a libertarian, that's the first thought that comes to my head. But also, it's like, dude, he's the richest man in the world. You think if he's going to dip into our coffers, he's just going to do it in broad daylight like that?
Right. He's already dipping into it through defense contracts.
Yeah, it's just an argument that is going to, first of all, this is one of the rare things that the establishment defenders do well. And it's this thing where they just make these claims that are not necessarily falsifiable. Like, I can't sit here and say oh, Elon's definitely not going to do that. I don't see what his motivation would be to do that. And even at the end of the day, it's like, how? He has access to data. It's just data. It's not, he doesn't get to reach into the treasury and grab a handful of cash and walk out the front door.
Yeah, I was never worried about money. And that was never anything I was worried about. It was just the idea that it's and regardless of Elon, wow, yeah, just our government, you could just kind of just walk in and touch the treasury. So I guess we're before and if this is something where it is uniquely him, or then it's hold on, we need some pause. But now I'd like to see a list of who else just has access to that information. I bet you that list is in the thousands and thousands of people that we've just never heard of, that if you dug into all of their you dug up all their bones and, and crept under every, their beds and nooks and crannies, they're probably people who are just as bad, if not worse, than Elon Musk. We just don't know their names. Now, I could be wrong.
Well, and it's the whole
Bell,
thing.
If you could look that up actually real quick.
Who else has access to the treasury information?
Yeah, who else has access to that treasury information that Elon Musk is looking into?
What I would say is
is this bluster being blown up our ass that we're just freaking out about for no reason, or is this something to actually freak out about?
Chris brings up a good point. Mark Zuckerberg has access to the third world's data, and nobody says anything. Not necessarily treasury information, I guess, is the only pushback I would have on that comment. But the point is still taken.
A lot of people do. H&R Block does. Fucking TurboTax does. How many people work there that get access to that shit?
The point is still taken, because it's we have access to, our tech giants have access to all of our information already. What difference does it make if they have access to, the information of money that's going into the U.S. Treasury through U.S. tax dollars? It's just information. Doesn't really matter. I guess we can move on to USAID on this, on that note, because I'm going to go ahead and take a leak, because I'm going to let the man, the myth, the legend, the God King, my hero, Ron Paul, tell you why it's okay and why it's good that USAID is shutting down. Now, you have to bear with him here, because he's old as fuck and he struggles a little bit to get through this, but he's far more brilliant than so many of the other oldies that we see out there.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the weekly report.
Looks good. He looks so good.
USAID then shut it down. As of this writing, when you attempt to access the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID website or social media pages, you are informed that this site can't be reached.
It can now.
The media
It's been
reports
put back
that
up
the
there.
new Trump administration has not only frozen USAID activities, but may be planning on bringing it back under control of the U.S. State Department. Other reports, including statements by Elon Musk, suggest that it will be closed completely.
Senior citizens, although slow and dangerous
If
behind the
true,
wheel,
the
can
closing
still
of
serve a purpose.
USAID may be one of the most significant changes President Trump has made among the many dramatic actions in his first couple of weeks in office. Many Americans may still have the idea that USAID is a government agency delivering relief at disaster site overseas. They may still remember the bags of rice or grain with the USAID logo on them, but that is not USAID. USAID is a key component of the US government's regime change operations worldwide. USAID spends billions of dollars every year propping up NGOs overseas that function as shadow governments, eating away at elected governments that the US interventionists want to overthrow. Behind most US foreign policy disasters overseas, you will see the fingerprints of USAID. From Ukraine to Georgia and far beyond, USAID is meddling in the internal affairs of foreign countries, something that would infuriate Americans if it was happening to us. When President Trump ordered a 90-day pause in USAID activities, we quickly learned just how pernicious the agency really is. The US media reported that Ukrainian press outlets were scrambling to keep their doors open when the US dollar stopped flowing. It is reported that 90% of the media outlets are funded by the US government. This means that there is virtually no independent media in Ukraine, only fake news outlets willing to toe the US administration's propaganda line. Does anyone think these wholly US-funded news outlets would ever publish a story that the US government did not want published? This is plainly immoral, but it is also dangerous. Most US mainstream media stories about Ukraine have their origin in the reporting of the local media. From battlefield news to casualties to the state of the Ukrainian military, the news from Ukraine is being written by US government-backed media outlets and then picked up by US and other Western media. It is a closed propaganda loop that not only propagandizes the US citizens about, also feeds false information into US government outlets, such as Congress, that rely on mainstream US media reporting for their news on Ukraine. No wonder so many in Washington continue to support this hopeless war. But USAID is not just the business of disinformation. Elon Musk recently reported a New York Post article on X reporting that USAID bundled $53 million to Echo Health Alliance to support gain-of-function research on coronavirus at the Wuhan lab. Did USAID help fund COVID?
He reads a prompter
Americans
better
have
than
a
Biden does. I'll
right
give him
to
credit.
know. In natural catastrophes overseas, Americans have shown themselves to be extremely generous. Private volunteer assistance organizations can most effectively assist victims of disasters worldwide. USAID needs a full and transparent audit. Americans deserve to know exactly what is being done in their name. Then the agency needs to be shuttered completely and its employees sent home.
Ron Paul's
That would go a
89, by the
long
way.
way toward making America great again. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ron. My hero, Ron. He summed it up. He summed it the best. By the way, I didn't know that. I didn't know that much to begin with. Like we never sit here and talk like we're experts, even though we give opinions like we are. I would never have thought to look into USAID as a funder of gain of function research in the Wuhan lab.
Right. Well, so you've heard me tout in the book I recently read a couple months ago, right?
Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman,
Yeah.
right?
I've read it too, my friend.
And they talk about NGOs and they talk about these different types of things. So it's like when this USAID stuff started coming out, I was immediately repulsed as well. Like, what the fuck? Why is it cutting, like, helping other countries with food and stuff? And then all of a sudden, it just took 2 seconds of research and realizing, because, like, when you look up what USAID is, it talks about, you know, all these, like, the different things it does, like helping countries. Like, but I'm just gonna Google. Like, I'll just
While you're looking that up, I'm going to play another video. James Lee sums up, I think, exactly what you're trying to say in this video right here. As soon as I get it to fucking stop moving. And then, of course, Amy Klobuchar has a comment, but here we go.
This agency is responsible for providing humanitarian assistance for millions of people around the globe.
Bullshit!
Dozens of developing nations around the globe.
I don't think you should believe either of us. I think we should be asking the developing nations what they think about USAID. And this is what the president of El Salvador had to say. He says, quote, most governments don't want USAID funds flowing into their countries because they understand where much of that money actually ends up. While marketed as support for development, democracy, and human rights, the majority of these funds are funneled into opposition groups, NGOs with political agendas, and destabilizing movements. At best, maybe 10% of the money reaches real projects that help people in need. There are such cases, but the rest is used to fuel dissent, finance protests, and undermine administrations that refuse to align with the globalist agenda. Cutting this so-called aid isn't just beneficial for the United States, it's also a big win for the rest of the world. Don't believe him? Well, here are the actual numbers. Some of the budget, yes, goes to humanitarian aid, but if you notice that it is second on the list after governance, aka meddling in the domestic affairs of other countries. And for those questioning the legality of shutting down USAID, I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to just give you additional information and context to the organization itself. So President John F. Kennedy created USAID in 1961 by executive order. So maybe because this agency was set up through executive order, it could probably be undone through executive action as well. This next part is kind of tricky because it seems like USAID programs are funded by Congress, but the agency itself is, quote, subject to the foreign policy guidance of the President, Secretary of State, and the National Security Council, which also seems like what's possibly happening right now with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, taking over as the acting head of USAID. That's kind of where we're at right now. So if you're a constitutional scholar and you can offer some guidance there, we welcome your input.
I think that summed it up nicely. Don't you?
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what I was basically gonna say. Like USAID, like socioeconomic interests, like that's talking about giving loans to third world countries at exorbitant interest rates to make it to where like specifically designed basically to make them default. So then they have to turn around and offer either putting an embassy there or natural resources or a military base to make up for that defaulted loan. Like it's things that our government has done constantly. Like it's the carrot and the stick type shit with U.S. imperialism, right?
Or bringing trying to free nations and cause dissidents in other countries.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why they would do that.
USAID was the carrot, and then just military and hard coups was the stick. Like the soft coups is offering, like right now, like when you look it up recently, the Paris Accords, a shit ton of third world countries were protesting the Paris Agreement or whatever it was called, right, for climate change. Like, oh, you know, our media tells us those small islands and stuff are supposed to be the ones that are affected most by climate change. You would think that they would want the help from the Paris Agreement. No, they don't, because these rich countries that are touting them being the rich countries and that they need to help these small countries, which is displayed to you in the media, that's not what they're actually doing. They're not giving them grants. They're not giving them money. They're giving them loans that these countries cannot afford, but they're being pressured by all these big countries to take these loans, to put them in debt to the bigger countries, so the bigger countries can exploit them for natural resources and whatnot. The USAID, through not NGOs, non-governmental organizations, does the same shit.
And it's ultimately a CIA front.
Right.
That's all. That's
They've
all.
been involved
all it
in
was.
soft coups. They've been involved in the coup of Venezuela. They've been involved in the coup of Ukraine.
And then you know that for sure there's something nefarious going on here.
Okay,
Not just by
another example: Obama and the Clintons when they were trying to stifle minimum wage for people in Haiti. Like
not just by you know that there's something nefarious going on here, not just by the actual information that's been since released in these last couple of days. It's available. It's publicly available now. You can see the finances. When I think I texted you the other day or yesterday, Corey, you and Bell in the group chat about how only 10 of every $100 was actually going to humanitarian aid. Kind of looks like that's mostly true. So all you get is the people that are defending USAID. I'm not calling it USAID because that's a propaganda way to put it, because the word aid isn't even actually in the acronym.
Call it you said.
Yeah. So I can't remember where I was going with that, but the people that are out protesting, but the humanitarian aid, but the humanitarian aid, but the humanitarian aid. It's like, dude, that is exactly why you're a non-playable character.
Well, that's why USAID is being used as USAID. It was built under a good premise. You know, they built a brand. They built credibility as helping smaller countries, and for decades probably. But then
we have actual audio from a protester that really doesn't want to see USAID defunded or moved into the State Department as Trump's going to do it.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't.
That is early on. It looks like that's what's going on. It's being folded into the State Department. And by the way, USAID's funding is actually higher than what the State Department gets to do, whatever all of its various myriad functions. And Marco Rubio is basically like, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. That's not a verbatim comment from Marco Rubio, but more or less he's like, I'm overwhelmed.
He's like, I got a lot going on.
And by the way, on the subject of Marco Rubio, it kind of pertains to USAID, but like Glenn Greenwald did such an amazing job. Did you listen to his show the other day when he was talking about Marco Rubio? And I mean, Glenn, I think is the greatest living journalist on planet Earth. Honestly, actually, I shouldn't say that. Matt Taibbi's up there. There are a handful of people that are in that bucket, but he's one of the best out there. And he was a lot like you and I were, Glenn was, when it came to the appointment of Marco Rubio. This reaction that we had to like, oh, fuck, Trump's just throwing a goddamn neocon in as the Secretary of State. And, he wasn't really serious about being anti-establishment. And then he goes on Megyn Kelly and just says all of the right things. Just all of the right things. Yeah, as far as like, essentially like the hegemony's got to stop. We have to have more respect for other nations and what they want to do. And I'm paraphrasing and saying it far less eloquently than he did, but I listened to a lot of those quotes, and I went back and I listened to a lot of the full interviews, and I got to tell you, man, I think Glenn might be onto something here. Like, we might have been wrong about the appointment of Marco Rubio. And here's the thing about us being wrong about the appointment of Marco Rubio. That's a good thing. It's good that we were wrong.
Yeah.
What do we always say?
That's better for the country.
We want to be wrong when we're making predictions that are bad for us. And we'll see where it goes. But right now, it kind of seems like Marco Rubio's been fucking, I don't want to say red pilled or blue pilled, but he's taken some kind of pill.
Now I got to watch the Marco Rubio Megyn Kelly interview.
You got to watch it. You got to watch it. And Megyn's like, I mostly like Megyn Kelly at this point in her career. There was a time where I really couldn't stand her. Mostly when I was just a Dirty fucking commie. But she's not exactly up to steam on a lot of foreign policy issues, but she does a really good job on domestic stuff. But I still feel like, even with that said, she asked a lot of the right questions. She asked a lot of the questions that I feel like I would have wanted answers to from Marco Rubio. So yeah, I recommend everybody check it out, especially for those of you that are still on this train of like, oh, Trump fucking brought Marco Rubio in to be Secretary of State. He brought in a fucking traditional neocon. There was something going on behind closed doors. It seems like that we're just now kind of finding out. And so, yeah, again, a thing that I am happy to be wrong about, if in fact I am wrong. We'll see where we go from here. We're only a few weeks in, but I don't know where the hell else I was going with that. Other than USAID is basically a CIA front that absolutely needs to be defunded and disbanded. I don't even know how I feel about it just being folded into the State Department. I kind of just wish it would go away.
Yeah.
Now you have establishment Democrats defending the CIA. What world are we in?
By the way, I asked ChatGPT about how many people
knows everything.
Or actually, what was the Bing one? So Copilot, about how many people like work for the Treasury Department to be able to get access into like the data and stuff like that. And it says, while there isn't an exact number available, we can make an educated estimate. Typically, access to sensitive data like that held by the U.S. Treasury is limited to a few thousand individuals at most.
A few thousand.
Right. This group would include high-ranking government officials, auditors, certain contractors, and other authorized personnel who require access to perform their duties. So the contractors one, I should have asked ChatGPT, like, who are the contractors?
Well, Elon Musk, he's a defense contractor, right? So he fits right into that bubble, does he not?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It's not unique, that I guess, that he has access to it, but
we have actual audio from a lot of the people that are that have access to that information, other than Elon.
Ain't found shit.
We ain't found shit.
You want to get into Gaza before we blow this?
Yeah, because we like to talk about good Trump, bad Trump, and this is
bad Trump.
God awful, Trump. Fucking terrible Trump. What the fuck is this?
I will add the caveat of unsurprisingly bad Trump. For those that are wondering what we're talking about, we're talking about the idea of the United States essentially taking over the Gaza Strip after Trump met with Bibi Netanyahu, and we had the whole hilarious discussion about the Afghani woman that he couldn't understand. This, to me, I know how pissed you are, Corey, and I think I'm just as pissed. The only difference is my temperature is a little bit lower, which is rare because I'm usually the one that gets real mad and it throws out my Irish temper on this show, and you're a little bit more level-headed. But the reason why I think you're a little bit more upset than I am about this is because I was mentally prepared for this, right? I think you and I had this conversation at least a few times before the election, and certainly before the inauguration, where I was totally prepared for Donald Trump to do decent things, some that I would agree with, some that I wouldn't, as it came to domestic policy. But I think I always knew that his foreign policy was going to be absolute garbage, and especially as it pertains to Israel. I mean, as he said himself, he quote unquote gave the Golan Heights to Miriam Adelson, one of his top donors, and is an Israeli crony. And so the fact that he goes into a meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, and somehow they came to the deal of the United States is going to take over Gaza and rebuild Gaza. We know what this means. What this means is U.S. taxpayer dollars, America first, am I right? goes into rebuilding Gaza, clearing out all of the rest of Hamas, probably thousands of Americans dead, by the way, if that's what it takes to do that. And then, whether it's during the current Trump term or the next Zionist president takes over, whether that's J.D. Vance, whether that's some other Republican or some other Democrat, eventually the Gaza Strip goes back to Israel. So I look at that and I go, Bibi got what he wanted. Ethnic cleansing mission complete.
Played
as it pertains to
America
Israel.
like a fucking fiddle.
And we had that discussion over text. I don't know. I don't think Trump was as played as much as you think he was, because I think all Trump wanted out of this was to be.
Bibi showed up, had fucking brought all his fucking laundry with him, had it dry cleaned by America, and then talked to Trump and then walked in with all of the bombs that were used to fucking level Gaza, paid for by our tax dollars, and then convinced Trump to come in and fucking clean it up while his clothes are being dry cleaned.
That's
on
fair
our
enough,
tax dollar bills. You
that's
know
fair
that,
enough.
right? You know that's what he does, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what Bibi
No, I
Netanyahu's
mean that's
always
not
done.
even a metaphor. He literally brings all his laundry with him.
Yeah, because what is it, like the State Department will clean it for free or whatever? I don't know what.
Yeah, when you're in the guest house for the president. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll literally wash your dirty laundry for you. Not even both literally and figuratively in this case. But the reason I say that, like, I don't think Trump was necessarily played was because I think all Trump wanted out of this was all I think he wanted was to be able to
just get it out of the way.
Claim that he was the one to end the war. That's all I think he wanted out of it.
To be fair, there is a ceasefire right now, and less Gazans are being killed now than they were under Biden.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, ethnic
for how long,
cleansing-
I don't know. But as of this very moment, here at 9:43 on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, less Gazans are being killed under Trump being in office for 16 days than Biden when he was president during what was happening in Israel for like a year. Maybe
you want to
2.
get mad?
Oh,
You want to
I'm
get real mad? You want to listen to fucking Alan goddamn Dershowitz with his busy wall behind him?
But first, I want to talk about this real quick. On Twitter,
Go for it.
Dearborn, Michigan was trending. And a lot of fucking liberals were on there. Like, it's mind-boggling to me. And this is what upsets me the most, that when it comes to like people who are liberal, they come from this perch of like this moral superiority, right? But there was a shit ton of them on Twitter talking about like, oh, looks like those people in Dearborn got what they wanted, and shit, like talk like that. Like it almost sounded like it was a racial slur. Like people in Dearborn, those people in Dearborn, I hope Dearborn, Michigan got what they wanted. When we all know what fucking that means. We mean Arabs. And we mean Arabic people in fucking Dearborn.
Why are liberals saying this?
Because Dearborn voted for Trump.
Oh, gotcha.
So liberals are out there saying, like, talking shit to Muslims. Like, what the fuck are you guys even doing?
Fair
like,
enough.
not even is Dearborn necessarily Arabic. Metro Detroit is one of the biggest populations of Middle Eastern people outside of the Middle East, but Dearborn specifically is very Muslim.
Yes.
And they were talking shit to them. And it's like, you guys don't even see the fucking forest through the trees, because you don't even remember that Biden was so fucking terrible on this topic, in this situation, that they voted for Trump out of desperation. and you don't realize that, but instead you want to blame the fucking voters, like people want to try to blame the fans when a team doesn't win a fucking football game.
Well, and then you have those same establishment liberals that you're talking about are all they're all like, these parties are not the same. This would not be happening under Kamala Harris, and that's a fact. And I always go, how can something be a fact that is literally an alternative reality?
Right.
I mean, like, how can you possibly say that it's a fact? You're right. You're probably I would say you're probably right. Like, we would just be in the same spot we were if Kamala
But will
Harris
we
were
even have a
president right now.
ceasefire? Oh yeah. So Gaza
No.
isn't being taken over
100%.
by
It's
America. But
Corey, it's a fact that we would not have an alternative. We would not have a ceasefire.
Right, because right now
if Kamala
people
Harris
aren't
were president.
dying, and that is a fact. But
Not as
now
many
all of a
people, at
sudden
least.
in America is just going to do this imperialist thing and take over Gaza. Being
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Place. And now we're going to put American soldiers in the line of fire and spend $1 billion more cleaning this up because it worked so well in Iraq. It worked so well in Afghanistan.
I mean, it's gonna work better.
You know, saddest question that I have about this, even though I'm completely against and staunchly against American imperialism in this type of sense and the waste of taxpayer dollars like this, is, are the Palestinians in Gaza safer under U.S. rule or Israel? Like, that's the reality we're facing, and it's sad.
I don't know how to answer that question.
But like,
that's something I've thought about.
Are Gazans safer if America's running the joint? It's sad. It's sad to even ask that that's the reality that we're in, but like, that's the reality. That's the reality that we're in.
It shouldn't even matter, Corey, because as Trump said, I don't even see a reason why they would want to come back. We don't want to. They shouldn't even want to come back. It's a really weird way. It's a really weird way, but it's a really weird way of saying like they're not going to be welcome back. You know what I mean? It's just like this really. We're just going to.
I bet you they'd want to come back, Trump. If you're talking about making it the Riviera of the Middle East, I bet you they want to come back because it's not an open air prison anymore. Are you going to let them back?
It's like you want to talk about missing the point. Like, these people are so adamant that this is their home, and we can have arguments about like, biblical. We can have biblical arguments about like who should be there and who shouldn't. I personally believe it's the Palestinian people because there aren't really any Jews in Israel that are actual Israelis. They're mostly fucking European, but that's a different discussion for another day. So yeah, I it's just like, fuck you. You're not taking my home. Like, can you? Like, the idea that
how do Americans not grasp that?
Right.
When they're supposed to be stooped in property rights.
Yeah. Well, especially the people that are but brother, we got eminent domain. Especially the people that are pro-Israel. That's what this just drives me nuts. But you're just an anti-Semite. You're just an anti-Semite. If
earlier though, is this just an Overton window shift? Is he just trying to shift the Overton window?
How so?
Not really taking over. To just like, it was on the Right Report, one of the podcasts I listened to, and he was talking about how, is this just like a sleight of hand for Netanyahu to go, yo, look, we don't even want to own Gaza. We just want Hamas gone. This guy wants to come in and just straight up own it. You might want to work with me and not him.
Yeah, I mean, for as evil of a genocidal asshole maniac that Bibi Netanyahu
he never came out and said he wanted it.
Well,
I think actually he has. I take that back. I think he has. Because he is an evil genocidal.
Well, as I was saying, like, as evil and horrible of a genocidal maniac as Bibi Netanyahu is, he's obviously not he's not an idiot. he's not a moron. He's a pretty goddamn good politician. That's not a compliment, by the way, for anybody who might be new to the
really
show.
shitty humans out there that are good politicians.
Yeah, it's being so strange
being
too.
a good politician and being a good human doesn't equate. It's not interchangeable.
It's so strange too, because like, as somebody who's obviously not Israeli and obviously not Palestinian, it almost looks in a short view, like funhouse mirror, like we're looking at a situation where you have Israel, who's the big brother, you have Palestine, who's the little brother, and big brother keeps beating the shit out of little brother over a toy. And dad, the United States, is fucking sick of watching this and has to just come in and take the goddamn toy away. Doesn't want to take the toy away, but he's got to take the toy away because big brother keeps beating little brother up over the toy. It's just not a good situation. It's not a situation I want to be in.
Goddamn Brits.
We should have some Scots on our show. They'll tell us how they feel about those damn Brits.
No, you get some Southern Irish people out here. They'll really fucking tell us how they feel about the Brits.
Well, I'll tell you though, they at least the Irish are free. The Scots are still under
Southern Irish are.
That's what I mean. Northern Ireland's like the size of like 3 Manhattan city blocks. Nobody cares.
Don't say that. Like, people in Southern Ireland fucking care.
I'm just kidding.
They still write songs about it every day.
You want to watch Alan Dershowitz now? You want to watch what these fucking Zionist assholes have to say about this?
Yeah, get later.
But actually, what Donald
He's
Trump,
on Piers Morgan.
asked directly about what would happen with Palestinians, he said, well, some of them could come back, but his implication was very clear that most of them would not, that most of them would literally move to Jordan and Egypt.
Why is Alan Dershowitz why are his walls so busy?
The general reaction across the Arab world
is very busy walls.
Not happening in a million years. So I just think it's, I get the boldness, I get the vision, I get if you're an Israeli, this makes perfect sense and it's great. But if you're a Palestinian, you're like, hang on, so we're getting kicked out, and most of us forever, from what they see as their homeland. And again, I just ask you, if it was the other way around, how would you feel?
Well, first, it wouldn't be the other way around.
Oh, of course not.
Israel
Yeah.
has lived in peace. It has never attacked its enemies. It has always been the recipient of attacks. It's only the Palestinians who say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free of Jews. They're the ones who
No.
cleansing.
They don't say free of Jews. They say they will be free because it's a fucking open air prison.
Yeah, and it's that conflation that they always throw out there. From the river to the sea just means death to the Jews. It's like, I don't think that's what they said.
From the river to the sea means from the river to the sea.
Yeah,
that Palestine will be free.
It just means it absolutely just means death to the Jews, to these Zionist fucking cocksuckers. But Dershowitz going, oh, Israel's always been peaceful. I'm not afraid to say it anymore. If you still want to call me an anti-Semite at this point because I can't stand Israel's government, fuck you. I don't care. I know I'm not an anti-Semite. You know I'm not an anti-Semite. All the people that I care about know I'm not an anti-Semite.
So what does it matter if someone you don't know cares?
Yeah, I don't like shit. I don't like shitty genocidal governments.
What an asshole.
I know, what a piece of shit I am, right? I don't care if it's run mostly by white Irishmen like myself, or Jews, or fucking Idi Amin in Africa, where it's run by black people. I don't give a shit. If you're a genocidal maniac, I don't fucking give a shit what
The
your
North
goddamn
Korean government, the Iranian government. No, I don't give a fuck.
That's right. I left out Asians. We got to give every race the equal amount of play.
Israel's responding to it by saying, wait a minute, let's not do any ethnic cleansing. Let's clear areas. This would be my idea, and it's an idea I would propose to President Trump if he asked me, and he has asked me from time to time about my ideas. Clear certain areas, say the South, the Rafah area. Clear it. Move all the Palestinians out. Give them tremendous compensation packages, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Give them beautiful homes in Jordan and Syria. And
Lebanon, not shekels, dollars.
Let them decide. And if they decide to stay, well, that would be
You're
fine.
a monster.
If they decide to come back, then they can come back if they can clear.
Hear what I said, right?
If they can demonstrate that they're not Hamas.
He made sure to say
the
U.S. currency, not the Israeli currency.
Take up arms, that they are not in favor of ethnic cleansing of Jews. Let them come back. Region by region to an area that has no tunnels, that tunnels can't be built, create a situation with underground wires and everything to prevent the building of tunnels.
About this and
Let's
not
rebuild Gaza. It literally can be Singapore in the Mediterranean. Remember, Israel left Gaza in 2005. They left it completely until Hamas took over, and they could have built a beautiful seaport. I have been in Gaza. I've eaten in Khan Yunis.
Oh, well, that just makes
and Hamas was propped by the Israeli government.
And I think Trump, maybe naively, believes that that could happen again. But if it could happen piece by piece with a right to return, but a right to return if you're not a terrorist from Hamas, and if you're prepared to lay down arms,
Who decides
and live in
who the
peace
terrorists
with
from
Israel,
Hamas are?
10 years from
Oh,
now,
that's when
we
Israel
could
steps
finally
in.
have a solution that would then enable Israel to move toward a two-state solution with the West Bank, relationships with Saudi Arabia. It's the beginning. Let's not just reject it by using terms like ethnic cleansing, because
it's interesting. I mean, look,
let's not reject it by using. Let's not deal in the semantics of what is and what is not ethnic cleansing. You fucking demon.
Let me say this car, it only has 3 of the 4 wheels, but that's like 75% of the wheels. That's a passing grade in high school, am I right?
Let's not deal in the semantics of whether or not the car has 3 wheels or 4. It's all right.
Usually have been used.
Okay,
in
but
there's 3-wheel cars out there. It'll drive.
The reason, the official definition of ethnic cleansing is the forced removal or killing of a population, ethnic group, or religious group against their will.
I love it.
Thank you, Piers.
Palestinians, this would be against their will. Therefore, the forced removal of a population is, by the definition, ethnic cleansing. I mean, it's not like people are exaggerating. That's exactly what it would be if it's against their wishes.
No, that's not true. International law is based on precedent.
Okay.
I don't think anybody has accused Churchill and Roosevelt of ethnic cleansing they moved involuntarily. Millions of ethnic.
Isn't this just?
Absolutely.
Well,
like
Corey,
one of the biggest stains on FDR is internment camps. What the fuck is he talking about?
Well, not to mention these the pro-Israeli government crowd always, and I want people to pay attention to this, always somehow invokes Churchill and goes, well, nobody ever said what Churchill did was bad. It's like, actually, a lot of people have.
Yeah, no, during the George Floyd protests, there was people pulling down Churchill statues. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's just these people, like look at all the fucking busyness on his goddamn wall. Like all the books, like I'm a learned man. I know all of this stuff. It's like, oh God, he's a demon. Fuck you, Alan Dershowitz.
Ethnic Germans who were causing a problem. They were the beginning of the Second World War, and the problem has been solved. International law is flexible. Peace is more
especially for Israel.
Yeah, it's flexible when it's convenient for you. Isn't that strange? But when a group of people that are
international law and the ICC says you're doing something wrong, it's not flexible.
Yeah, well, and it's like it's convenient for you, but my God, if a militant group pops up in an area that you are occupying, or I shouldn't say occupying, because they always point out that they were not occupying Gaza. So occupying is the wrong word. I do apologize for the misnomer, but that you are surrounding as what some people would call an open air prison. And then when they fight back, well, now international law is not really that flexible. Now we got to get rid of all these people.
They're terrorists. Well, I mean, like hang gliding into someone's backyard and trying to kill them and rape them probably is an act of terrorism, but still.
So let's not get caught up in technical definitions that are anachronistic and that have never been applied.
Let's not get caught up in technical definitions, Alan Dershowitz. Let's not get caught up in semantics of what's genocide and what's not. Let's not get caught up in the idea that we have to genocide them before they genocide us. You piece of absolute dog shit. This one makes me mad, Corey. This one gets me upset.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
But of course, because I'm mad at Israel, guess what that makes me? I'm an anti-Semite. Somebody's going to pull that.
And me just nodding my head.
Bullshit. Fuck you, Alan Dershowitz. Do you have any closing remarks, Corey? We're 2 hours in.
So we talked about Gaza. We mentioned birthright. That was another thing that pissed me off about Trump. I just want to mention in the episode. We can get into it more. Trying to end birthright citizenship. And then the other one that another one that everyone's getting up in arms about, things like USAID when it comes to Trump pulling like shady shit, is the sending American prisoners to Guantanamo Bay. Or to the not Guantanamo Bay, I'm sorry, the Venezuelan prisons. The fuck is that about?
Is it Venezuela? It's one of it. I don't think it's Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Are you sure? I don't know.
No, El Salvador. No, I'm sorry.
Salvador.
Venezuela was a USAID-backed coup. El Salvador is where the new prison was built. Yes, correct. Sorry. One of them southern countries.
But again, Corey,
America, I don't know.
Corey, I'm with you. I hate it because it's obviously unconstitutional. These prisoners always have a chance to challenge their verdicts and their sentences. So I'm absolutely with you on the fact that that's shitty. But again, what I would point to is I just have faith in the Constitution to
block it.
To block it. And
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
hope
Like,
so.
like Trump is throwing a lot of shit at the wall and
just
seeing what sticks. And I don't like a lot of it. And what you just pointed out is one of those things. I don't like a lot of it. I don't like the birthright
Dude,
citizenship
especially
thing.
when like 2 to 10% is like somewhere in the estimate of like how many people that are found guilty are actually innocent.
Yeah, I mean the Innocence Project. I mean we know this, you know, and it's why I'm against capital punishment. It's why I'm against the death penalty. I guess even, we're talking about the death penalty. Like I guess we could make super fucking rare exceptions, like really fucking rare exceptions.
Right.
But for the most part, like no, man. Like I would rather not. I would rather
chance it and keep 8 actual criminals alive for the sake of keeping 2 others alive that are innocent.
For innocent people, correct? Yeah. I feel the same way. It's why I think the death penalty is an absolutely atrocious abomination towards humanity, and I think it honestly, it's an abomination to due process. It's an abomination. Like you should be able to continue to challenge. We talked about this a few weeks ago, as far as like their technology improves all the time. The amount of people that were put in prison for murder before DNA was a thing, you know, and then all of a sudden we're able to pull DNA from an old bullet or whatever the hell the object is to prove that or like an old gun or whatever to prove that this person never touched this firearm.
And then do a little thought experiment on it. Like if you knew that if you had to pull the switch on an electric chair for 10 people because they're all convicted murderers, but the 10%, but 1 out of 10 with on the higher scale of like the estimate, right? 1 out of 10 of those people are innocent. Are you going to be completely comfortable pulling that thing 10 times?
No, not even once. I wouldn't be comfortable pulling it once.
No,
I wouldn't. because that one that I pulled could be the innocent person.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Libservative podcast.
Libservative podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at libservativepod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying.
Bell had to bail on us. Apparently, he had to bring groceries in. That's his deal now. So he had to leave about a half an hour ago. But Bell the Body Snatcher for most of the episode on the ones and twos. He, as always, has been Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And until next time, we are out of here.
You've done a hell of a lousy job.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We the people cannot turn back. Somebody must lead, or else the fight would not be made at all.